Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual Sunday service on a special Sunday, Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday. This is as close to a high holiday for Unitarian Universalists as come, probably. I'm glad to have you all here virtually with us. And I'm glad to have a very special guest with us today whom we'll introduce in just a few minutes. But before we do, just a couple of housekeeping matters. First of all, I want to welcome Roland, who is at the piano wearing his gloves because it's 55 degrees in here this morning. All of you are warm wherever you are. I also want to thank our online host, Rice Spring, our technical support people who this morning include Mary Huff, Patrick Siegel, Craig Hess, and Chris Townend. So thank you for making this service available to all of you. I will remind you that we have closed captioning available with our Zoom service. So at the bottom of your Zoom screen, if you click on live transcript or captioning, if that's helpful to you, feel free to use that. I will remind you that at the end of the service, we will have a virtual coffee hour. You'll be invited to a breakout room, and you can have a chat with people in smaller groups if you could do that. However, this morning, we are also going to offer an opportunity after service to speak with our guest speaker today, and we'll do that by staying in the main room. So if you want to speak with our guest speaker after the service, just decline the offer to join a breakout room, and then you'll stay in the main room and you can speak to her. So our guest speaker this morning is Reverend Joan Sabatino. And I'm not going to say a lot about Joan because I'm going to let our own Bill Clinton, who is the president of UU Justice PA, introduce Joan to you. So Bill, if you'll unmute yourself and please introduce Joan to us.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to see all of your smiling Zoom faces. This morning, as we celebrate the Martin Luther King weekend, we are fortunate. Is everything all right? We are fortunate to have with us, as Peter said, Reverend Joan Sabatino, who's the director of UU Justice PA. Now, UU Justice PA was organized in 2010, so it's 12 years old, and it was organized to provide a single voice for justice in Harrisburg to reflect the values of the 35 UU churches across Pennsylvania. So our mission is to promote voting, to advocate for justice, and to get UUs elected to office at all levels of government. Now, the Reverend Joan served as the minister of the first UU church in Indiana, Pennsylvania for over 15 years. And during that time, she and her congregation worked together to change their image in the community by being a consistent, legitimate voice for liberal religion in a small, conservative Western PA town. While in Indiana, PA, Joan co-created and co-chaired the Center for Community Growth. And this is a grassroots progressive advocacy group. And the center helped elect several UUs to the Indiana Borough Council, the Indiana Area School Board, and they even helped elect one county commissioner. So upon retirement in 2019, Joan relocated to Harrisburg to become the director of UU Justice PA. She lives a quick mile walk from the Pennsylvania Capitol in a small row house with her dog Lady. She is a mother of 3 adult daughters, has one 11-year-old grandson, and last summer, are you ready for this, was blessed with 2 granddaughters born 3 weeks apart. So as Peter said, I am the president of UU Justice PA, and it is with great pleasure to work with Reverend Joan in Harrisburg. Joan brings her passion for justice, her persistence when things move slowly or in the wrong direction, and her unique South Philly swagger to our work together. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Joan Sabatino to our pulpit. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for that introduction. I understand that it may be a problem with the echo and sound Zoom today. And if you could let us know in the chat, update us. We're trying to work on that. If it's better, tell us. If it's not, tell us as well. And I see Joan. Joan, you were here, and it's great to have you. And we're hearing still echoing, so I'm not sure. We'll work on that. But in the meantime, I think we'll begin worship service now with our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit. The lyrics are in your program, so feel free to sing along from the comfort of home. Join Bob in singing. Thank you, Bob. And I would just ask Bill, if you're not muted now, can you please mute your microphone after your introduction? Thank you. I invite all of us to recite our covenant together. These are the promises that we make to each other, no matter how distant we are from one another. Covenant is on your screen. Enriched by our differences and joined together in our search for meaning, we come with ourselves and each other to seek truth in a spirit of love, to strive for justice, and to serve others with a joyful heart. And now I will light our chalice here in the sanctuary. I invite you at home, if you have a chalice, light yours as well. And I light our chalice with these words. This fragile flame that we now kindle remind us that the promise of our democratic system is fragile too. In this time together, may we to tending the flame of democracy, so that every voice may be heard, and that the dream of justice and equality is no longer deferred. I invite you now to sing our centering song as it's sung by the UUCDC Virtual Choir.
There is a Lord holding
no matter what technical difficulties may be having, that there is a love surrounding us and holding us always. We continue to try to work on our technical issues. We appreciate your patience. But now is the time of service where via the chat on Zoom, we share the joys, sorrows in our lives, those things which are lifting us up and those things which are weighing us down. In sharing these, both the good and the struggles, we are reminded that we are not alone. So I invite you now in this time to share the joys and sorrows of your lives in our chat.
A reading this morning, In the Midst of a World by Rebecca Ann Parker. In the midst of a world marked by tragedy and beauty, there must be those who bear witness against unnecessary destruction and who with faith rise and lead in freedom, with grace and power. There must be those who speak honestly and do not avoid seeing what must be seen of sorrow and outrage, of tenderness and wonder. There must be those whose grief troubles the water, while their voices sing and speak refreshed worlds. There must be those whose exuberance rises with lovely energy that articulates earth's joys. There must be those who are restless for respectful and loving compassion among human beings, whose presence invites people to be themselves without fear. There must be those who gather with the congregation of remembrance and compassion, draw water from old wells, and walk the simple path of love for neighbor. And there must be communities of people who seek to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with their God, who call on the strength of soul force to heal, transform, and bless life. There must be religious witness.
Thank you, Joan, for that reading. We're going to try something different with the audio. I'm not sure if this is working or not. Sounds like not. Joan, you're fine, so thank you for that reading. Now we will receive this morning's offering. We do that through texting on your smartphone. You know the drill, I think you at least. There's a slide will show you that has the phone number you can text, and we appreciate your generosity in supporting the work of this church and its world. And as we offer up offer our generous gifts today, we will be blessed by a gift from Bob Rowland, who will share his musical offering. Bob. Thank you all for your generosity this morning. Chrissy Bushiger, DRE, has a much-deserved Sunday off today, but she has provided us with time for all is via 2 different videos. And so since Reverend Joan is going to be speaking about the dream of democracy, we wanted to 2 separate brief videos that relate to the right to vote. And that right to vote has not been universal forever, and will be followed by a beautiful edition of a Langston Hughes poem by our UUCC virtual choir.
Today, we remember the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the man, the legacy, the dream. MLK gave his I Have a Dream speech in April 1963. In that speech, he shared his dream for democracy and for our country. After all these years, his words still resonate, still inspire. I say to you today, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. I have a dream that one day our nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all persons are created equal. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, Black and white, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. God Almighty, we are free at last. A few word edits for mine. This weekend in January, it is a common theme for ministers, you and others, to ponder what MLK would be preaching about in these current times. I set that question to my mind's eye for a few moments of reflection and meditation this week. I came up with the image of a man on his knees in prayer with tears running down his eyes. And yet we know that that man would get up, wipe the tears, and march on. King's dream has not been realized, and neither has the dream of our founding fathers of our dream for democracy. Our democracy is hanging on by its fingernails off a cliff. Excuse me. The political divide in our country has gotten wider. Many writers and commentators say that this separation is wider than it's ever been since the Civil War. The poor have gotten poorer. Our Pennsylvania minimum wage is still one of the country's lowest at $7.25 an hour, lower than any of the states surrounding us, including West Virginia. Mostly Black and brown individuals still populate our prisons. The lives of Black persons are still in peril on our streets. Our prison industrial complex is alive and well. Women are losing their rights to their bodies and their health decisions and becoming second-class citizens again. Thank you to your DRE for those 2 video clips. They fit right in here. Gun violence is out of control. Common sense regulations supported by most of our citizens in Pennsylvania sit in committee and do not move forward. Our Pennsylvania schools are under and unfairly funded. Our Pennsylvania General Assembly is gridlocked. Oh, wait. Unless they want to wake up and pass voter suppression legislation, then they seem to move quite quickly through our General Assembly. The gift ban still languishes in committee after 6 years. So PA lawmakers can still take any amount of money, any gift, no matter how extravagant, and insist to me that these gifts do not influence their vote in one-on-one conversations. Of course, all of this pales to the January 6th insurrection and the fact that more than 70 legislators, Pennsylvania legislators, refused to certify the 2020 presidential and vice presidential election until many days after January 6th. And I hear again and again that much of this chaos is backlash over having our first Black president. And we are learning in Pennsylvania, along with Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, New Mexico, Nevada, and Wisconsin, we had a group of non-certified electors send fake certificates to Congress archives in a failed attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Luckily, governors like ours and other elected officials would not allow them to do so. And if you haven't watched Don't Look Up, give it a try. Today, all of this is going on in our country and other countries worldwide while the climate emergency surrounds us. It's a dark comedy, Don't Look Up is, that tries to help us realize what the climate advocates see happening around us that few seem to be paying attention to, at least in the producer's opinion. Will we wake up before it's too late? This is the ultimate environmental crisis question. When things are really bad for me, which is how I feel they are now in Pennsylvania, I look for the silver linings. What's the blessing here? What's the lesson? For in the blessings, I often find hope. The work that Unitarian Universalists are doing around the eighth principle is important work. We need to reclaim our history, right? Reclaim it in truth. I know that there are reading groups associated with the eighth principle in many of the congregations across PA, and they are surviving on Zoom. Zoom might be on your list of blessings in these times. But UUs are reading and discussing and educating themselves about history, about our true history in America, in the United States, excuse me. A few highlights. Caste. Just the title sends chills, right? Caste. A United States caste system. The Sum of Us, Heather McGhee's book about the realities of 20th century racism in our country. It addresses the GI Bill, real estate, racist practices in financial institutions, community swimming pools, and more. And Begin Again by Eddie Glaude, historical lessons from James Baldwin's America, Black America, right? And its urgent lessons for us today. I do apologize for the need to take so many sips of water. Then there are two historians that have helped me find hope. One, Heather Cox Richardson. She has a daily blog. It's free. It's great. She's a political historian who uses facts and history to make sense of today's world. She teaches at Boston College, and she has a way of bringing history back into my thinking about today's and yesterday's events. The question at the Supreme Court this week on the OSHA decision was who decides? Federal agencies or state legislators? From Cox Richardson's Friday, January 14th blog. In his opinion, Gorsuch explicitly raised the concept of the non-delegation doctrine and the related concept of the major questions doctrine. The non-delegation doctrine relies on our government's separation of powers. As its own branch of government, it says the Congress cannot delegate regulatory authority to the executive branch, where agencies like OSHA live. But, Cox continues, since Congress has, in fact, been delegating authority to the executive branch since the administration of President George Washington, those who want to reduce the federal authority sometimes rely instead on the more limited major questions doctrine, which says that although Congress can delegate minor authority to administrative agencies, it cannot delegate major questions. And then in parentheses, although just how to define a major question is unclear. She does this every day. She brings complicated political and legal decisions that are being made in our Pennsylvania legislature to, she explains them, she unpacks them in human layman's language, and then she relates it back to some part in history that makes sense. The other person who does similar is Doris Kearns Goodwin. She's a biographer, historian, political analyst. And she does the same thing. She reminds us that we have always, and will still live on stolen land. The writers of our Declaration of Independence and then our Constitution were white men whose thinking was based in Western Europe thinking. And while they were crafting our glorious documents, several of them owned slaves. I agree with Kearns Goodwin and other historians who believe that we never resolved the Civil War fully. And transgressions not resolved never go away. You know this in your own life, right? Until you say, I'm sorry, that wrongdoing stays with your heart. It's the same thing here, only on a larger scale and affecting more people. I wrote in my newsletter column, which you can find on our website, I hope you do, how Kearns reminded me that this is not, 1/6/21 was not the first time we had significant violence in our capital. It happened again way back in 1856, right? Violence in our capital is not new. And when people in our government say they want to make it so that'll never happen again, I hope they do. I hope they do. So Kearns' work reminds me that we can survive bloody massacre in our capital. It gives me hope that we can survive again. But please note that I'm saying we can survive, not necessarily that we will. Right? The other side has strategic plans for stealing our democracy. They want a different system of government. And we have to be strong and diligent about speaking up and making our voices heard, which is my job in Harrisburg. And we have to remember that it's not going to happen with one vote or one rally, or one march, or one conversation. It's going to take a long time. The late, great John Lewis said it this way in his memoir, Across That Bridge, A Vision for Change and Future in America. Freedom, and you can substitute the word democracy, I suggest, is not a state. It is an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we all must take, and each generation must do its part to create an even more fair and more just society. So how do we get out of this quagmire? I think it's through elections, and I have heard many of our state and federal legislators say the same thing. Maintaining voting rights, getting every person registered to vote, and doing what we can to get good, honest people elected in PA. These are troubling times, and we must do our part. So I offered the reading by Rebecca Ann Parker, In the Midst of a World, this morning for a reason. This reading speaks to UUs in two particular ways. First, justice is a part of who we are. It's a part of our faith tradition. It is the only values word repeated in our principles. Secondly, Parker reminds us that no one person can do it all, but we must all do something. UU Justice PA offers several opportunities to get involved. We have 6 justice teams. Most of our team leaders have been at this work for a long time. Getting more people involved is imperative to the team's survival. We regularly lobby about once a month in Harrisburg. Can't make that? Contact me and I will help you and your congregation put together local lobbying days. Visit our website and please sign up if you are not a subscriber to get our action alerts and our news alerts. Newsletter. Newsletter once a month, action alerts at least, usually a couple each week. And if you have the resources, please donate. Organized money and organized people makes power. There is a donate button at the bottom of each of our action alerts and in several locations on our website. And if you'd like to learn more about UU Justice and the work we are doing, please stay in the main room. Don't go to the breakouts. But if you do go to the breakouts, that's okay. Just if you're interested, stay with us. And our board president, Bill Clinton, and I will answer questions and let you know what's going on. I want to end with the last stanza of Rebecca Ann Parker reading. There must be communities of people who seek to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with their God, who call on the strength of soul force to heal, transform, and bless life. There must be religious witness. So may it be.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Joan, for those inspiring words. Thank you for being with us here today. And I encourage all of us to stay after with Bill and Joan, learn more about the work that UU Justice PA, and any of the members of our congregation as leaders of UU Justice PA engaged in. Now we will close our worship service with our closing hymn. Bob will lead us in We'll Build a Land. And I invite you to sing along from home. The words are in your worship program. Thank you, Bob. Now, if you have a chalice lit home, I invite you to extinguish it as I extinguish chalice here in the sanctuary. And I invite you to say the words that you can find on your screen. Although we know we now extinguish our chalice flame, may we hold warmth in our hearts in all the days ahead. So once again, I thank the Reverend Joan Sabatino for being here with us today on Martin Luther Sunday. Joan, thank you for your inspiring message. Thank you, Bob, for music, as always. Thank you to our online host, Lori Rice Spring, to our tech people who have been diligently working for you to clear up and correct any technical issues we had today. We will keep working. We appreciate your patience. But Marilyn, Patrick, Craig, and Chris, thank you for your work today. I also let you know that there will be a meeting of the Anti-Racism Coalition at 11:30 today via Zoom, and I'm going to post the Zoom link to that meeting. Everyone's free to attend, whether you've attended every one of the ARC meetings or you've never been before. This is a tangible way in which we can honor Dr. King's memory and engage in the work of democracy that Joan talked about as well. I also want to remind you, if you'll advance to the next slide, we will be holding a book fair for Chester East Side. And instead of having just one day, the idea is going to be now from February 1st to February 3rd, we are going to be raising money so that we can purchase books for children who attend Chester East Side's after-school program. So look for more information in your digest and on the website and Facebook page for this book sale. And now I think we're ready to engage in our communal practice of benediction. We are going to allow you to unmute yourselves, and we like to raise our hands together in virtual hand holding as we say the words that are printed on your screen. Feel free to unmute yourself. For those I'm here seeking God,
May God go with you.
with you. For those who
Hope
come
embracing
embracing
life,
life,
a life from your affection. For those who come
those who
to
come
faith be found,
to be found, and the courage to take it step by step. Blessed be. Great to see everyone.
have a good week.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Are there other breakout rooms that he was encouraging us to stay on? Join room 2. Go ahead. Why don't we join it?